Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of Find Your Einstein Friday. My name is Scientist Bon, Covalent Bon, and today I'm going to be sharing another super sweet science experiment. So far, together we've learned about leaf chromatography, learned how to instantly freeze water, and even extracted DNA from a strawberry. But today, we're switching it up. No pun intended, and we'll be more focused in the area of technology. Whether you're into robotics, engineering, or consider yourself to be an inventor of sorts, today's activity from Science Buddies is especially for you. We're going to learn about electrical circuits, and we'll be creating bristlebots and our very own art bots. Let's first talk about circuits. An electric circuit is a path for transmitting electric current. Generally, it consists of three parts. One, a device that gives energy to be charged to particles, like a battery. Two, a device that uses a current, like a motor, a computer, or a light. And then three, the connecting wires or transmission lines. In some ways, an electric circuit works like our circulatory system. Our blood vessels, arteries, veins, and capillaries carry blood through our body. The wires in our circuit carry the electrical current to different parts of an electrical system. Our heart is the pump that provides the force for blood to circulate through the body. In an electrical circuit, a battery or generator produces the voltage, which is the force that drives a current through the circuit. So today, we're going to put this into practice by creating our own electrical circuit, our bristlebots, and our art bots. At the end, we will talk about what each part of the circuit did, and we will learn what made our bots vibrate. So let's get started. But before you start, make sure you've had a good power nap. I heard they're great because you can really build up a charge with them.
Boo!
Okay, well, that was more of a joke, but more seriously, as a reminder, we can't be together in person, so don't forget to have adult supervision. Let's first review our materials. For our bristlebots, we're going to need the coin cell battery and our vibration motor. We're also going to need a toothbrush head. So we've already cut these for you. If you haven't cut them, you can use snippers to cut them off. Double-sided foam tape, scissors, and if you're going to be racing your bristlebots, you'll need some heavy books and a flat, smooth surface like a table or countertop. Some helpful tips. First, have all your supplies ready before you start. Always clear your surrounding surface area, and as mentioned before, you should have adult supervision. We are going to start with our bristlebot, so you won't need the battery holder just yet. First, you're going to stick a piece of foam tape to the top of the toothbrush. So I have my foam tape here. It's double-sided. I'm going to peel off one side, and I'm going to stick it here to the top of our toothbrush. And I'm going to push it down nice and firmly. Make sure it's on there good. Now I'm going to peel back the rest of the foam tape. And I'm going to leave it here for just a second. I'm now going to pull the extra pieces of insulation off the ends of our battery wires. So on each wire, there's a little extra piece, and I'm going to pull that right off, the red one, and right off of the black one. Then I'm going to attach this battery to the foam tape with the wires on the end. So I'm going to look for the fatter part of my toothbrush, here. And this is where I'm going to stick this coin battery. Make sure if your toothbrush is small, make sure you save enough room because you're going to attach the motor after. I'm sticking it on here. Now it's going to be a little off balance now, but we're going to add the other piece to it. Now we're going to pull the little piece of tape off the back of our motor, and we're going to attach the motor to the opposite end of the toothbrush with the wires facing out as well. We're going to make sure it's stuck on there real good. Now we're first going to twist together the ends of the red wires. I'm pulling them together and I'm twisting them, making sure that the metal pieces are touching and twisting around each other. Now I'm going to take the black wires and I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to twist the metal pieces around each other. Your bristlebot should start to vibrate when you do that. Just by touching it, you can already hear the vibration. So now, don't be nervous about it. You just twist it around. You want to get a good tight twist so it stays on there. Might take you a few tries because it's already vibrating. Our art bots will be easier because there's an on-off switch. All right, so now I have my little vibrating bristlebot. And we're going to test it out here on your smooth surface. This guy's going pretty fast. Now, if you wanted to raise your bristle bots, you would make 2 of these. You'd take 2 books like this, and then you would put a 3rd book here, so you'd each have your own aisles, and you would see which one wins. This guy just wants to be free. All right, so this was our first electrical circuit, our bristle bot. So I'm going to undo this because we don't want to keep it on too long, so we can save the battery. You just untwist one side. There we go. And we're going to put this to the side so we can do our art bots, which is a little bit more in depth. For the art bots, we're going to need a little bit more supplies. So first, you're going to need 2 AA batteries, which we've already put in your kit here. If you are getting a kit for the first time, you may have to install them on your own. This is the battery holder. This is our 3-volt DC motor, a plastic 16-ounce cup. Now we've already pre-cut 3 holes in here for you. However, if you are doing this from your own supplies and your own kit, you are going to need to put 3 holes in the top here, and you can use something like this crafting knife here to do that. You will need a popsicle stick, 3 thin markers, a paper or a poster board, more double-sided foam tape, and this you're going to need some electrical tape, and of course scissors. So let's get started. First, we're going to make sure our battery switch is on off. So this here is on off. We're then going to take our cork and we're going to press it onto our motor shaft, which is here. And you're actually going to do it off center. So you're just going to kind of stick it on there and you're going to put it aside. Next, again, if your 3 small holes on the top of your cup have not been put on the cup yet, you're going to cut those. And what you want to do is you want to look at your motor and you're going to measure up. I actually used my popsicle stick to measure the distance between the 3 wires and the moving motor in the middle. Then I marked it off on my cup with a Sharpie in 3 spots. And then I used my crafting knife to cut the holes. Now you're going to put 2 pieces of double-sided foam tape on either side of the holes and peel the paper off the backing. So you have 2 thin slices of tape here. And I'm going to put it on one side here, on the top of the 3 holes. And then on the bottom of 3 holes, but make sure you don't cover up the holes. Push it down firmly. Now we're going to take our motor and you want to peel off the rest of the tape. You can see I'm taking the tape off the top of the other side. And then we're going to feed our black wire through and our red wire through. And then make sure the middle piece of the motor is in the center hole so it can make sure it spins. And I'm going to push down on this firmly to make sure it's stuck there. So now it should look like this. You have your 2 wires in the center, your motor on the top with your cork. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our battery holder and I'm going to twist the red wires together and then I'm going to twist the black wires together. Now remember, make sure that it is off. Turn this upside down. All right, so I have our wires all twisted together, the red and the black. Now, your hand may be smaller than mine, so you may not need to cut your cup, but I actually had to cut the bottom of my cup off to be able to get my hands in here to tie the wires together. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our electrical tape and we're going to cut some pieces off and we're going to wrap the connections together in this electrical tape to make sure that they don't come apart. So I'm starting with the black one here. And I'm going to wrap this around nice and tight, that way once our motor starts, this connection does not come undone. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the red wire here. Okay, so now you can see we have our motor on the top, our batteries on the bottom, our wires are connected, and they're secured with our electrical tape. So now you're going to put a piece of double-sided foam tape on the battery holder, so you can use your bigger piece of tape. You can kind of measure it out. You may need to cut it to fit a little bit better. And you're going to put it on the side that doesn't have the switch. You don't want to tape your on-off switch. Peel back the tape, stick it on here, and push it down. Make sure it's on real good. And then you're going to pull off the opposite side of the tape, and you're going to stick this to the inside of your cup. Make sure you'll be able to reach your on-off switch. All right, and again, you want to push down on that tape. And so you can see again, you have your wires, and now we have our battery taped inside. And I'm gonna fold up these wires inside so they're out of the way. Now you're gonna take your markers, this is the fun part, and you're gonna tape them on the outside of your cup with the bottom where it would draw down. Okay, so I have taped all 3 of my markers to the cup, and you wanna make sure that it looks like a tripod, almost like a triangle. If you put it down, it should be able to stand up. So now we're going to take our popsicle stick, and we're actually going to tape it or stick it. If you have extra tape, you can stick it with this tape, or you can just use electrical tape to the top of the cork. But we're going to put it a little bit off-centered. So I'm going to use my double-sided tape here instead. Put some on my popsicle stick. Now this is going to help it vibrate. And we may have to test out exactly the position of the popsicle stick to make sure that our bots don't fall over once we turn them on. You want to make sure your tape on your popsicle stick is secure, and also on your markers are secure. And then this is optional, but you can also decorate your bot. So really quickly before we get started, you can either use a Sharpie or more double-sided tape if you have extra. And I'm gonna throw on these little googly eyes. Okay, so as you know, as we do these activities and experiments, we always learn new things. So when I first showed you this experiment, this activity, I did let you know that I had to cut my cup because I was having trouble twisting the wires inside the cup because my hands couldn't fit. However, I found another way. So what you can do if you're also having trouble twisting your wires together inside the cup, you don't actually need to cut your cup. You can just stick the battery pack inside the holes, so a red one through one outside hole and the black one through the other. And then you can go ahead and twist the black around the black, and then the red around the red. And then as we mentioned before, you'll take your electrical tape and you're going to tape around where you twisted the metal pieces together so they're secured. I'm not going to do that right now, but just so that I can show you. Then all you need to do is pull them through the holes. And just like we discussed before, we will secure our motor to the top using our double-sided tape on either side, the front and the back, making sure that you're not taping the wires and that the center hole is there so this will be able to spin once it's turned on. And then once this is secured, just as we mentioned before, you'll stick the rest of your tape to the inside of your battery, and you will then tape it inside your cup. And voila, you did not need to cut your cup after all. So I decorated my art bot. I have some googly eyes and a smiley face. And now we are ready to test it out. We're gonna remove our marker caps. And now you're gonna turn your power button on. You can see we've got a lot going on here. And you're gonna place it on your paper or your poster board. And it should have some nice artwork here. Now make sure you use washable markers, as you see, or be careful for flying objects. You don't want to get marker on your surface. Let me just turn this off for a second so we can... Now, there's a lot of power here. Couple of things. If the motor doesn't spin, check to make sure that your wires didn't come loose inside your tape. So if for some reason this wasn't working, you'd want to look at where we taped our wires together. Make sure it's secure and that you twisted the metal pieces around themselves really well and then taped it together really well. Now, also, as you saw with our popsicle stick, pieces may fall off your art bot, so make sure that you're not putting your face close to it as it wobbles around. If necessary, you may need to turn the power switch off, as I did, and retape some of the parts to the cup. So I'm going to retrieve my popsicle stick. And I'm actually going to use a piece of electrical tape instead, so that way it's more secure around there and it doesn't go flying. All right, and we're going to test it out one more time. Are we ready? And so one other thing I did want to mention as well is you may not have a big piece of poster board or paper thick enough where the marker won't go through, and we obviously don't want to ruin any surfaces. So you can actually use your robot without the marker caps off as well. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention was when you saw in our first demonstration, I had some difficulties with our popsicle stick not staying on to this cork. And we obviously, we don't want you to have anything flying around the room or at your face or anything. So what I do encourage is that you use your electrical tape to securely tape all the way around the popsicle stick to the cork. So now you can see I've taped it really well and it will not come off. And so just as a demonstration, again, you don't need to put your markers on if you don't have thick enough paper or big enough poster board. You can just go ahead and turn it on. And there you have it, your robot. I hope you all get creative. So, a couple of things to troubleshoot. If your art bot stops moving suddenly, again, check to make sure the wires are tightened and they are secure with your tape. If the pieces fall off, make sure you re-secure them and make sure that you're using plenty of tape to keep them on. Now, if it falls over frequently or if it wobbles too much, you want to use your popsicle stick and move it around on the cork to try and get it more balanced out. Make sure also that your markers are even. So when you secure your markers here in the cup, you want to make sure they're all the same height so that way it doesn't fall over off. And then remember to turn your robot off when it's not in use to help conserve the battery power. So our results. Our BristleBot and our ArtBot both use small electric motors to move. In order to power the motor, the robot used a battery. So we have our battery here, and with our BristleBot, we had the little tiny battery that we used. When we connected the battery to the motor, we completed an electrical circuit, allowing the motor to spin. In the BristleBot, the tiny weight inside the motor spins, causing it to vibrate. When the motor vibrates, it causes the robot to shake and buzz along the tabletop. In the ArtBot, like we see here, the motor had an off-centered weight attached to it, which was the popsicle stick, which caused the motor to vibrate. When the motor vibrates, it causes the robot to wobble across the paper, and we ended up with this handy-dandy artwork that you see here. Now, a fun fact. This is the same technology that makes video game controllers and cell phones vibrate. On the inside, they have little spinning motors with weights attached. So some key takeaways. We learned what an electrical circuit is and that it generally has three parts. Something that gives energy, like a battery, something that uses energy, like our motor, and something to transmit the energy, which is our wires. We learned this is similar to how our circulatory system works, with our heart providing the force to pump the blood through our veins in the body. We also learned about short circuits and open circuits. So a short circuit or an open circuit is when our wires are not attached or they're not attached well. We also learned that this technology is the same technology used to make cell phones and video game controllers vibrate. I think that's pretty cool. Now, if you really enjoyed this experiment, you might be interested in a career as a robotics technician or engineer, a mechanical engineer, or even an electrical engineer. So we want to see your BristleBots and your ArtBots. And as always, we'd love for you to send us photos and videos of your results. So it looks like we're coming to the end of our time. I hope you had fun. But before we go, it's time for your Find Your Einstein Funny. Are you ready? First, what do you give your favorite electrical engineer for his birthday? Shorts. And why is a robot engineer never lonely? Because he's always making new friends. You know, he's making new robots. Well, that's it for today's episode of Find Your Einstein Friday. Follow me, Scientist Bon, Covalent Bon, as I share more wild and wacky science fun. Until the next time, think like a proton and stay positive.